you did your cut, and from the look of things, people did not do it as I expected. I don't know that you are in a hurry doing the cut. That's why you performed the way you performed. There is even a person who got 0 in that particular cut. That shows that that person was not serious, or that person took the least time possible to do the cut. And the moment you are given a whole hour, the lecturer knows that cut would have even been done within 15 minutes. And I decided to give an hour because I knew that you need to concentrate on a question before you answer. Because some answers looked as if they were the same, but they were not. You were to select the right one. But people did poorly in that particular cut. That's what I can say generally. Very few people, like we can say half, got 8 and above. Got 8 and above. The highest has got around, is it 14? Yes. We have even the lowest who got 0. So I'm wondering at this time of the semester. So this person must put in more effort to ensure that he does not fail or he takes this particular unit. So we are going to start our class. Unless there is a problem or there is a question on the cut, you can be able to view your grades. I've done some settings such that you can be able to see your grade wherever you are. If you got a 0, you know yourself. If you got 5, you know yourself. If you got 14, you know yourself, and so on and so forth. I want to start a class unless there is a question before we start. Unless there is a question, unless there is anything that you'd want to ask. So if there is no, if there is nothing, then allow me to start this particular topic. So today we are going to focus on what we call the financial and investor public relations. Financial and investor public relations. Allow me to share my screen. Hope you can see my screen. Hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
So can we have somebody tell us what is financial, what they understand by financial or investor PR before I start? Can we have a person explain to us what they understand about financial PR? Can we have a person explain to us? Or we choose someone. Esther Wanjeri, can you explain to us what you understand by the term financial PR? Esther, we are waiting. Are we in this class? June Gode, can you explain to us what is financial public relations? June. If you're not going to explain, then we can even end our class at that point. If you cannot explain, or even one of you tell us what is financial PR, then we better end our class at that point. Zena, Press Barizena. Yes, there is somebody who has lifted his hand up. This is who? I can't, let me go to the top.
That's me.
Silvanus, yes,
That's me,
Silvanus.
Silvanus.
Yes.
Okay, I may just say this is a strategic planning, financial strategic policy by a financial company with regards to the investors' relations, because not every investor knows how to, put their money in right perspective. But let me just break it down this way. For example, Mr. Maina and Silvanus forms a company called X. Okay, now we want to, we have invested some money here, and some other investors to come in. So that means our private company has to go public. By going public, that means we have to offer some initial purchase offering. So this means the shares of the company has to be publicly traded. So that means people who'd want to join our company, in other words, the shareholders who want to buy the shares of our company will have to pay some money. So this is whereby, the PR departments in this financial company becomes very essential in advising the investors and everybody who is involved about what the company is trying to do, because this offers the company a very huge public, platform. In other words, it exposes the company to a larger audience, and then the public can buy the shares of the company. By so doing, the company is also raising its capital. So that's one way. The company gets to be known by the public. So it's a lot of things, and it's not just a simple matter which you just wake up one day and say, I'm going to buy the shares of this company. No, it has to be traded through brokerage firms and all that. So, and then who's taking the price of this initial public offering? It is the underwriters who have to decide what the price is. So this is going to be in conjunction with Mr. Maina and the directors of this company. So it is all about exposing the company to the larger audience in terms of financial information and strategy. So this is my understanding of the financial and investor PR, but it is much more than that. That's just an example which I've given.
Thank you, Silvanus. I think there is a word that you missed, to actually do what we call allow the public to know about the company. We call it publicizing the company. But for example, when an organization gives what we call the initial public offer, before when you talk about initial public offer, for those who don't know, you're talking about the company that wants to trade its shares in the financial in the stock market. So it first of all does what we call the initial public offer. Initial public offer simply means that we are going to offer to do what we call to sell our shares at maybe 15 bob, 15 shillings, or maybe we are going to sell our shares at 5 shillings, and the amount of shares that you can buy is 10,000 shares. Now, when we publicly announce that we are going to get into the stock market to the public, we give an initial public offer. Once we give an initial public offer, then there is that day that we are going to officially trade our shares in the stock market. That time, the first price, maybe for example, one share was costing like 15 shillings. Yeah, 15 shillings. So once we trade our shares officially in the trade market, in the stock market, the price might shoot to around 20 shillings. That is what we mean by the initial public offer. And we have to publicize this. We have to communicate this to the public. We have to communicate this to the public for the public to involve the public so that the public can also buy our shares. Now, like we have seen shares being traded, the initial public offer for Safaricom Kenya Limited, initial public offer for Scan Group Kenya Limited, initial public offer for so many companies. And people flock in to buy those shares because they know that the first time it will be trading in the stock market, the price will rise, and so on and so forth. Now, allow me to do some introduction on financial PR. And we can say this, we can say that in many large organizations, especially major corporations that supply products around the world, there are several departments within public relations. In many organizations, you're going to realize that there are several departments within PR department. And one of the departments may be financial public relations. One of the department can be financial public relations. So the financial public relations department is usually responsible for all the public financial information about a company. A financial PR person has the same job as the regular PR person. So what the regular PR person does and what a financial PR person does, they have the same job. But the way that they go about their job they are different. And this is what we are going to be focusing on. So sometimes you're going to realize that financial public relations isn't handled by the in-house department at all. It is never handled by the in-house department at all. And when you talk about in-house department, we are talking about an institution that conducts its PR activities within. If you conduct your PR activities and you inform or you go for consultancy, then we call that one external PR department, or we just call them consultancies. So you're going to realize that financial public relations, most of the time in many organizations, is not handled in-house. It's not done in-house by the in-house department at all. So sometimes the company will choose to hire an outside firm to handle all their financial PR. And this is especially true during great times of change in a company. For example, when there is a merger. A merger simply means that a company has merged with another company. A company has merged with another company. That is the time that when we are going to involve what we call the financial PR outsider. Therefore, we can say that financial PR will involve both the financial community, like investment bankers, the financial media, and so on and so forth. So the main thing that a financial PR organization or a firm, we said that most organizations will outsource the services for financial services as far as financial PR is concerned. So we are talking about the main thing that particular firm does for this company is to usually help them communicate their financial position. So what the external financial PR does, it tries as much as possible to communicate their financial position to the general public, the financial marketplace, and also to their shareholders. So there are additional tasks in transactions like mergers or stock fluctuations and so on and so forth. So when you talk about PR firms, They work with clients, PR firms. They work with what we call clients. They work with bankers. They also work with lawyers and analysts to get the best results. So when it comes to financial side of a company, things are left better handled by the experienced professionals who have experience in financial matters. So whenever you're asking for a PR department, whenever you're coming up with a financial PR department, you don't just employ somebody who has done just PR. We need people who have done financial courses, or people who are very good in finance, people who are very good in banking and finance. Those people who can be able to balance the what we call the balance sheet, those who can be able to do the profit and loss accounts, and so on and so forth. So we need people who have got experience in financial matters. And this is why a company often chooses to go outside of their own people. So financials are complicated. That's one thing. And there are legal issues. Whenever you talk about finances, there are legal issues. There is what we call privacy. There is what we call account issues, and hundreds of factors to consider when releasing information to the public. You don't just release information to the public. There's some secret information about the organization that cannot be released to the public. There's some financial state that you don't even have to release it to the public, because the moment you do that, you don't know what will happen next. Maybe people will start running away. People will start now disassociating themselves with you completely. Huh? Say, for example, you're talking about the insolvency of an organization. That the organization is falling down. It can barely pay debts. Huh? It can barely
Unmute your microphone.
sorry for that. I didn't realize that my microphone was off. Thank you. for your, so what I was saying is this. So we started by saying that finances are very complicated and there are some legal issues. For example, things to do with privacy. There are what we call account issues and hundreds of factors to consider when releasing information to the public about the company's financial state. That's why a financial team usually consists of several different people, not just someone to do PR. And some of the people that are needed in an organization are people like lawyers. We need lawyers. One of the major groups that make up financial firm is lawyers. And these are usually financial lawyers, people who have training and experiences with what we call financial matters. The team also may consist of just one lawyer, but there are usually several that represent big companies. If your organization is very big, then it means that we will need several lawyers. If it is very small, we don't need a lot of lawyers there. These lawyers might specialize in what we call IPOs. Before we started the class, I mentioned about initial public offers. These people must be specialized in stock trading, mergers, tax laws, or major other aspects of financial PR. The people that we need again is finance professionals. We need people who have done accounting, people who have done banking, people who have done finance, in order to make decisions about what to release to the public regarding companies' finances. There's some information that when you release to the public, it can lead to that organization collapsing immediately. That's why we need financial professionals, so that they can they sit down with the lawyers and they can tell this information you can release to the public. So these experts will be able to read the financial data. The finance professionals will be able to read the financial data much more easily, and they will be able to advise the lawyers where necessary. We also need PR professionals. And these are people who have done or who are trained in marketing, people who are trained in advertising, people who are trained in publicity. So that when the team decides what information to be released to the public and why, they will have someone who knows how to get the message out effectively. So issues to do with financial PR is very, 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 very sensitive. So therefore, we start with the background of financial PR, and we are saying that until the mid-1980s, competition among various types of financial institutions was very restricted by law. Issues to do with competition among banks, among insurances, among financial institutions like SACCOs, among financial institutions like those that you might think of, it was very restricted. But today you are going to realize that we have financial institutions that are advertising their products and services. And now that one put me back to that one make me think of something else. In the year like 20 years ago, year 2002, year 2000, I remember there was a friend of mine who had wanted to join a university, and he had qualified for a course at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. And one of the main requirement was that he needed to have a bank account. And so he wanted to open a bank account with one of the renowned bank. Let me just mention it. It was Absa Bank, formerly known as Barclays Bank. It was called Barclays Bank then. And he was told the minimum amount that you will be required, minimum deposit, is 20,000. We didn't have information at all. 20 years ago, people didn't have much information as right now. as we talk right now, we can have several people who have opened various bank accounts, and they can tell you the charges, the hidden charges, and so on and so forth. And bank took what we call advantage. So in other words, we are saying, initially, there was no what we call competition. Competition was not stiff as compared at this point. There is a lot of competition. So major strategy issues for this larger retail financial organization is to reassure the purchasing public that they are sound. So the main aim why there is competition is that, or the main reason why there must be competition is that organizations must be able to prove to us, financial organizations, why they are sound, why they are trustworthy, and they are able to survive in long term. A customer wants to be assured that the organization that you have invested in is a stable organization, that the organization that you have invested in is an organization you can trust, and so on and so forth. So one way in which financial PR differ from other forms of PR is that product is very sensitive. Issue to do with money is very sensitive. Look at so many families, look at so many organizations. Why do they fail? They fail because of issues to do with money. Families, they do not, most families, they are failing because they are not able to do what? To plan very well as far as their finances are concerned. So one way in which financial differ from other forms of PR is that the product is very sensitive to change in confidence. When you start now telling, let's say, for example, you bank with a certain bank. Say, for example, a bank that you love, the bank that you bank with, they tell you we have increased the fee of transaction. If you withdraw, we have increased it with 2 shillings. Customers are going to actually withdraw from that particular bank, even if it is 50 cents. You will find that customers will now start running away from you. So issues to do with money is very sensitive. And issues to do with money can make an organization collapse overnight. Somebody told me this. Of course, when you talk about money laundering, let's talk about money laundering. Yeah, you realize that the people involved in money laundering, especially in Africa, they are the bankers, people who work within the banks. So they get involved with those people who have fake notes, and then they exchange them with the original notes, and then they are paid. I don't know how it goes. Then they are paid. Once they are paid, they do what we call they mix it with the original money, and they put them in what we call the ATM machines, so that when a customer withdraws money through the ATM machine, he gets several notes fake, several notes original. So there was such a case in Kenya. And when it was published in, the customer complained, and it was published on the newspaper, the following day, customer ran away from that particular bank. I'm not going to mention the name of the bank. So issues with money, in short, what I'm trying to tell you is that they are very sensitive. The moment you start talking about increasing the rates or increasing the percentage of maybe transaction, people start running away. So financial PR must address increasingly to sophisticated audiences who they are interested in. In other words, we are saying that as a PR or as an organization, be able to put your information maybe on TV or on radio or whatever means, in a way that the public can understand. So then we have what we call the web of interested parties. Web of interested parties. And when you talk about web of interested parties, we are going to realize that new public emerge, and they even combine with the existing ones. Like when you talk about atoms combining to form molecules, we can see banks like this bank called, is it Sanlam Bank? Not Sanlam, there is this other one called, I can't remember, but it was a joint. They merged together. So things are changing, and you're going to realize that insurance, even insurances, they are changing. They are merging, coming together, and so on and so forth. This one also should be explained clearly to the customers as to why they are merging and so on and so forth. Then there is another one called amalgamation. Amalgamation is when a smaller company is swallowed by a big company. It is always good to explain these things to the customer, because once it is a company is amalgamated by a bigger organization, then it means that something is wrong somewhere, and this one can affect the public, so on and so forth. So when you talk about the web of interested parties, we are talking about organizations merging. There is amalgamation. There is what we call organization dying, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. Then we have also what we call public for insurance. This one reminds me of a friend of mine I was talking to yesterday, and he was trying to tell me about a particular insurance company that he was actually saying that that insurance company is a superb one because they are good products and services. And then I was something of the sort. I don't want to talk about the insurance. Yeah, we were talking about the insurance company, simple as that. So when you talk about publics of insurance, we are talking about insurance companies, which were thought to be safe, havens for retirement. People used to do what we call save with the insurance. Even up to now, people are saving with the insurance, so that when you retire, you're going to be given your pension. They are also saving with the insurance because of their health, because as you age, you become more vulnerable to diseases. Right now, nothing can happen because you are a youth, very vibrant. But as you age, you realize that you're becoming vulnerable. Some diseases that you don't even know where they came from, they are attacking you, and you do what? And so on and so forth. So the best way people used to do, and they are still doing it, is they're investing with a health insurance or insurance, also disability and annuity and death saving provisions. So when you look at these things have gone on a rise, or they have risen, they have gone up. People are able now to save for insurance. So insurance companies, there are so many. Even our vehicles, the one that we are driving, you realize that we have to involve the insurance, that just in case of an accident, the insurance will cover the loss. So,
excuse me,
yes.
can you please share the screen?
Oh, you cannot see the screen. I thought I was sharing the screen.
No, you unmic your microphone.
But my microphone is on.
Microphone is okay.
Okay. So when you're talking about publics for insurance, that is what we mean. Every person, almost everyone, is banking with, not banking, let me not use the word banking, but we are trusting so much the insurance in all aspects of our lives, including even our children. But you know very well, at the end, you will not work forever. You will not be employed forever. There will come to a time when you will retire, when you'll be unable to pay school fees for your kids, when you'll be unable to pay, maybe for example, something of the sort. So you now bank with the insurance that in case I retire, in case I die, the insurance will take charge. So that is what we call public for insurance. Then we also have publics for savings and investment, like what Masiro has told us about brokerage firms when it comes to shares. There is what we call emerging brokerage firms that are specialized in new technology and services that are also they're addressing the growing audiences. their financial needs. We also have financial advisors. You find that there are some what we call consultancies firm, a consultancy called financial advising consultancy or financial advisors consultancy, who are retailing assets and financial management services to the general public. Sometimes we usually have what we call financial advisors. People like, let's talk about Kipchoge, Eliud Kipchoge. Is a person who does what we call marathon. He runs marathons internationally. This person, especially these people from Eldoret, you come to realize that these are not, there are people who are not good as far as academics is concerned. So you realize that some financial advisors are employed to train these people, to help these people be able to do what? Be able to channel their money to the right direction. Because without that, I don't think these people would be any good. So income, so that is the reason as to why. Yeah? So when you talk about publics for saving and investment, you come to realize as far as financial PR is concerned, there is so much. If we were to tackle financial PR alone, we are going to take like a whole week. So we are just doing what we call a summary. So we also have types of fund managers, which are large. We have large fund managers, we have medium fund managers, and small fund managers. So I'm not going to go through this. These ones you will go through them alone. So let's look at PR strategies. And I'm going to read everything that is here until we get to these few points here. So the argument for a corporate PR function is strengthened when large financial organizations are struggling for positions in the market with fewer players. So as financial institutions become larger to fulfill global strategy, the PR functions become more complex. So as the financial institution become larger to fulfill the strategy, the global strategy, the PR functions become more complex. So to regularly assess what publics to address, Pavlik in 1987 suggests that a PR audit might be designed to include, these are things that he said, Pavlik said, that a PR audit must be designed to include what? Number one, an audience identification study, which has 4 basic steps. Number one, they must identify issues of concern to the general public. You must be able to, even as a financial organization, before you come up with a product and a service, identify an issue of concern to the general public. That's why I like this bank called Equity. The moment they realized that other banks were taking what we call advantage of the public not knowing much about finance and banking, and they were overcharging them, even opening an account. Equity Bank came in and you do even open a bank account with 0 shillings, with a minimum balance of 0 shillings. So you need to identify issue of concern to the potential public. It is the first bank. I'm not doing what we call self-praise, but that bank is the first bank to ensure that you can even withdraw 100 shillings. Go to other banks all over the country in Kenya, you cannot withdraw 100 shillings. But when you talk about this particular bank, you will realize that you can withdraw 100 shillings. You can withdraw 300 shillings, and so on and so forth from their ATMs. So you need to identify issues of concern to the potential public. Number two, you need to measure their perceptions and attitudes. Before you come up with products and services, measure the attitude of the people, measure the perception of the people. Then number 3, evaluate the organizations present standing on these people. Then finally, measure the power of each public. You know, publics are many. We have the community, we have the media, we have the stakeholders, we have the trade unions. All these are public, so you need to measure the power of each public. So therefore, we move to something else, and we look at PR strategies used in what we call financial PR. So as a financial institution become larger to fulfill global strategies, the PR functions becomes more complex, according to this guy called Pavlik. To regularly assess what public to address, Pavlik 1987 suggests that a PR audit may be designed to include an audience identification study for basic steps. So 4 basic steps identify relevant studies. So identify, so we are told that it needs to identify issues of concern to potential publics, measure their potentials and attitudes, evaluate organizations present standing with these people, and then be able to do what we call measure power of each public. So then we are even told that you need to do what we call a corporate image study, which is very important. As an organization, you need to know how the public perceive you. Like since this bank called Barclays Bank, since people knew that they were taking advantage of their situation, that they didn't know much about banking and finance, people have formed, or still as we speak right now, if you can even ask a friend of yours, an old friend, he will tell you, I cannot bank with this particular bank, because already the corporate image, the perception about the bank is another one. Some people perceive it to be a high-class bank. Others perceive it to be another thing, and so on and so forth. So there is what we call familiarity of each public, of each public with the organization. So you need to do what we call corporate image study by looking at how familiar are the public to your organization. You need to also measure the attitude of the public towards your organization. And how do you do that? You can do that several times. You can even distribute questionnaires. Even at some point, there are some banks with what we call some gadgets in the bank, whereby you can even write as a customer how you perceive the bank, how are the services, and so on and so forth. So we also have personality characteristics that each public associates with the organization. So in general, when you're doing corporate image study, you need to do the 3 things that we have listed there. So then there is what we call strategies. Remember, we are talking about PR strategies in financial PR. So we also have what we call defensive strategies, a defensive strategy. And the defensive strategies, they are needed when a crisis has occurred, or when a corporation is being subjected to a hostile, what we call external influences. In a defensive strategy, the management executives need to be defensive, or to apply what we call a defensive strategy to counter rumors and incorrect or exaggerated press reportings. Like there was an article that was published. It was on the newspaper and it was shared. I think somebody shared me, and the article was, the university, JKUAT University, is insolvent. And I could see those friends of mine who work with JKUAT saying that this report is not true. This report is not true. This report is incorrect. How can it be insolvent? And so on and so forth. So you realize, if you're a public relations officer, you can do what we call defensive. You can apply the defensive strategies to defend your organization and say it is not insolvent. So there is need, if a company is closing down or has made major loss or is guilty of illegal activities. So whenever you are accused of some illegal activities, or some major losses, or maybe duping customers, and so on and so forth, it is always good to do what? To use the defensive strategy so that you can be able to clean your image. Then there is what we call expansive strategies. There is expansive strategy. And expansive strategies, when you talk about it, is where the globalization and diversification are overall strategies. These are strategies of the strategies that we use as PR managers, especially when the organization is going global, especially when the organization is being diversified. You can find the services of this bank in Rwanda. You can find them across all the world. Those are called expansive strategies. So many banking and insurance companies are now moving into investments. They are now moving into funds and money management. So in the financial sectors, for example, examples of planned and sustained activities to become recognized, accepted, and trusted. In other words, we are saying, point number 3, that every bank or any financial sector is trying as much as possible to come up with activities to become recognized through those activities, through those services, and those through those services and through those products. By doing what? By serving the public interest and regulatory committees, by drafting what we call technical papers, speaking to the study groups and conferences, and so on and so forth. Also arranging public visits of executives, giving evidence to legislative committee, and so on and so forth. Then lastly, we look at there is what we call creative strategies. For example, a very good creative strategy is when COVID-19 was when it first landed in Kenya, bank wanted the banks or the financial institutions realized that those people who had taken loans from them were unable to pay them. They were unable to pay them. So, and if you realized, and if you are a business person or as a person, you came to a realization that you'd be unable to pay the loans, then you were to go to your bank, talk to the bank, and then postpone the loan for a period of, depending on how you agree, period of 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. Now that one is called creativity, that the banks needed to be creative. They needed to be creative to deal with this particular situation. So that one falls clearly on creative strategies. Then there is also what we call adaptive strategies. And adaptive strategies, they are necessary when two companies have merged. When a company, let's say, for example, this is company A, it has merged with company B, then you need to come up with what we call adaptive strategy, how you're going to coexist. Or when a company is moving into different geographical area, or when it is moving into related service delivery field, you need to have what we call use adaptive strategy. Like you have realized that some banks in Kenya and all over the world mostly, they have turned to become insurance companies. A very good example is Absa Bank. They are also offering insurance services. And there are many. Another one is ABC Bank. They also have their own insurance, and so on and so forth. So those are called adaptive strategy. You have to adapt for you to thrive in the market. And that is it. Unless there is a question. The other things I will leave that you read, issues to do with research, impression, information, and also situational factors. Those are the only things that I will leave you to read on your own. So unless there is a question, any question? Do we have any question? Anything that is not clear that you want me to repeat? Any question? If there is no question, then this is what we are going to do today. Before I say the activities that we are supposed to do, let me share what we call the password for the register. The password for the register, I'm trying to get it. I've already shared the password. It is there, J3ZDA3. That is the password for the register. So you can start taking your register.
Hello.
Yes.
Pardon the. Pardon the register. The code.
I've already shared there.
I was writing it down. I haven't finished.
Small J, 3D, no 3Z, small J, 3, small Z, small D, small A, then 3. Small J, 3, small Z, small D, small A, and then 3. So that one is the code for the register. The activities of the day, we are moving to the activities of the day, and kindly let's do these activities. Remember, I usually do what we call mark them. So topic 6 notes have been unveiled, have been unleashed. Second thing is that there is a discussion forum there. So you're told to discuss how communication between a bank and its audience would differ in content and method of delivery. Discuss how communication between a bank and its audiences would differ in content and method of delivery. Then you're supposed to post that in the discussion forum provided. So the discussion forum is open, and then there is quiz 6 for you. So quiz 6 is already open for you. Then apart from that, allow me to say this, there is assignment 2. There is assignment 2. Assignment 2 is already open, and this assignment runs from 28th, that is today, to 4th, that is next week, Thursday. So you have between today and next week on Thursday to do that particular assignment. That assignment will open exactly at what time? The assignment will open exactly at 12 p.m. today. The reason why I put it at 12 p.m. is to allow you first of all do the activities. Then at 12 p.m. that assignment will be able to be open. Then you can do the assignment. You have only 1 week to do that assignment. That is assignment 2. You have 7, actually how many hours? You have 7 days, 7 hours to do that assignment as we speak. Unless there is a question, I'll stop at that point and allow you do the activities that have been put on the platform. Any question? Any question? So let's do the activities and let's call it a day.